Let's be honest, gardening isn't just about planting and watering, it's a learning journey. One filled with choices that can either skyrocket your garden's success or quietly sabotage it. And here's the kicker, some of the most common gardening terms are also the most misunderstood. Just because you've heard mulch, compost, or manure tossed around in gardening circles doesn't mean you're using them right, or even know what they really do. In today's episode of Soil and Crop Central, we're diving headfirst into these three soil boosters that people love to talk about but often mix up. Mulch, compost, and manure might seem interchangeable, but they couldn't be more different in their purpose, application, and effect on your soil and crops. Stick around because we're breaking down not just what they are, but when to use each one, how to avoid common mistakes, and the science-backed reasons why choosing the wrong one could set your garden back by an entire season. Let's dig in. Alright, let's talk about understanding mulch the right way. Mulch is often thought of as just a decorative layer you throw on top of soil. But here's what most people don't know. Mulch is not plant food. Its job isn't to feed your crops, it's to protect your soil. Think of mulch like a shield. It sits on top of the soil and guards it against harsh sun, pounding rain, temperature swings, and yes, even weed attacks. There are two types of mulch, organic and inorganic. For garden purposes, organic mulch is where the magic happens. This includes things like wood chips, straw, grass clippings, and shredded leaves. These materials slowly break down over time, offering a light dose of nutrients while doing their main job, retaining moisture, reducing erosion, and keeping weeds out. But here's where gardeners get it wrong. Mulch is not a substitute for compost or manure. Applying mulch directly into the soil without letting it break down first can actually rob your plants of nitrogen during decomposition. It's best used on top of soil, never mixed in. If you're growing vegetables, use mulch after your seedlings are well established. For flowers and ornamentals, mulch can be laid immediately after planting. Keep it about 2 to 3 inches thick and avoid piling it around stems or trunks, which can cause rot. Compost is your garden's gut health. Now let's talk compost, the dark, crumbly, earthy-smelling material that's often hyped up as black gold. Unlike mulch, compost is meant to be mixed into the soil, not left sitting on top. It's made from decomposed organic matter. Think food scraps, plant cuttings, coffee grounds, and even eggshells. When broken down properly, compost becomes a powerhouse of nutrients and microbial life. Compost improves soil structure by increasing its ability to hold water and air. It feeds your plants steadily without overwhelming them, supports beneficial microbes, and promotes healthy root systems. It's essentially a multivitamin for your garden, and it works whether your soil is clay-heavy, sandy, or somewhere in between. The key to great compost is balance. About 2 parts carbon-rich materials like dry leaves, straw, or shredded cardboard, to 1 part nitrogen-rich materials like veggie scraps, green leaves, or coffee grounds. Keep it moist like a wrung-out sponge, and turn it every week or 2 to keep the microbes happy. Once your compost is fully cured, dark, crumbly, and no longer recognizable, you can add it directly to your planting holes, mix it into raised beds, or top-dress your garden beds with it. Just don't confuse unfinished compost with the finished product. Raw compost still undergoing decomposition can burn plant roots and invite pests. Manure is powerful but needs respect. Manure is often the most misunderstood of the three. Yes, it comes from animal waste, usually cows, horses, chickens, or rabbits, but before you wrinkle your nose, hear this. When used correctly, manure is a potent natural fertilizer. The catch? It must be well composted before use. So, raw manure is just too strong for most plants. It actually contains high levels of ammonia and pathogens that can burn roots, contaminate your crops, and even harm the microbial balance in your soil. But when it's properly aged, usually for at least 6 months, it transforms into a nutrient-rich amendment, especially high in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Chicken manure, for example, is really nitrogen-heavy and perfect for leafy greens, but only after it's been composted. Cow manure is milder and better suited for general garden use. Horse manure, though, often contains weed seeds unless it's hot composted. And rabbit manure, interestingly, is the only one that can be used fresh in small amounts because it's relatively low in ammonia and rich in cold nutrients. To make a basic manure tea for liquid feeding, here's the formula. Use 1 part well-aged manure to 5 parts water. Let it steep in a bucket for about 24 to 48 hours, then strain and pour it around your plants. Never apply undiluted fresh manure directly to growing plants. It's honestly a recipe for disaster. So let's talk about when to use each one for, the best possible results in your garden. Here's the golden rule. Mulch protects, compost improves, and manure feeds. If your garden soil is sandy, poor in structure, or dries out quickly, compost is your first line of action. Just work it into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil before planting. When your plants are in the ground and you want to preserve moisture and reduce weed competition, that's mulch's moment to shine. Lay it down after your garden is established to keep your hard work protected. If your crops are showing signs of nitrogen deficiency, pale yellow leaves or slow growth, aged manure can deliver a nitrogen boost, especially early in the season. But don't layer these all together blindly. For example, putting fresh manure under mulch is a terrible idea. It will trap heat and intensify ammonia burn. Compost and manure can work well together if the manure is fully broken down. You can even compost them together over time to create a rich hybrid soil builder. Common mistakes that cost gardeners their harvest. A lot of gardeners unknowingly set themselves back by making one of these classic mistakes. Using fresh manure directly on edible plants, this leads to root burn, poor growth, and sometimes contaminated crops. Confusing mulch with compost. Remember, mulch goes on top, compost goes in the soil. Assuming more is better, overloading your garden with compost or manure can result in nutrient imbalance, salt buildup, or water retention problems. Skipping the curing process, whether it's compost or manure, patience is key. If it still smells bad or you can see chunks of food or waste, it's not ready. Ignoring the source, not all manures are equal. Avoid anything from animals that have been treated with antibiotics or fed a non-organic diet. The same goes for store-bought mulch. Avoid dyed or chemically treated wood chips. So, are you using the right one? That's the million-dollar question. Mulch, compost, and manure all serve wildly different purposes. They're not rivals, they're teammates. But you have to know who's playing what position. Mulch is your barrier and buffer. It keeps your soil safe. Compost is your soil builder. It works beneath the surface to create the perfect home for roots. Manure is your booster. It fuels plant growth, but only when handled with care. Choosing the wrong one at the wrong time isn't just a harmless mistake. It can lead to stunted growth, poor yields, and nutrient-depleted soil that takes seasons to fix. Final thoughts from Soil and Crop Central. Gardening success comes down to one thing: knowing your soil and feeding it wisely. The biggest harvests don't come from guesswork. They come from understanding the tools at your disposal and using them with precision. Now that you know the real difference between mulch, compost, and manure, go out there and give your soil what it actually needs. Whether you're planting your first tomato or managing an acre of crops, using the right amendment at the right time can make all the difference. And hey, if this episode gave you an aha moment or saved your garden from a common mistake, consider sharing it with a fellow grower. Let's keep growing smarter together. Stay rooted, stay curious. This is Soil and Crop Central, and we'll catch you in the next one.